species, I think, is in Africa, right? That's what
Yeah,
they say lately. The origin of
yeah,
all species is in Africa, somewhere in Ethiopia or something like that. Which is interesting. It's interesting by itself.
yeah. And then they show how people actually migrated
Yeah.
um, into
Oh,
Europe.
there's a map that shows the actual migration.
Correct.
Wow. That'd be interesting.
So yeah,
All
they
right,
have it at that
guys.
place.
So you took some exam questions on domain 7, and I went through your responses and the questions, and I think most of the areas that you got the wrong answers are in the area of disaster recovery and the techniques, different techniques that we can look at. But also, I think it's more of a concentration or being concentrated in the different pieces of the puzzle that we went through as we described domain 7 in general. So, if we break it down domain by domain and we look at each one of them, it sounds like a lot to deal with, and it is a lot to deal with. However, the real challenge is when you put everything in one basket and it becomes your CISSP exam. So for that one, I'm going to open the full exams for you, the 150 questions, 3-hour exam, so you can start, looking at it from that point of view, and try to deal with it. However, you can always pause the exam and resume at any time later on. So you can do 20 questions at a time, and as you're getting better at it, 30 questions at a time, 50 questions. But also, my recommendation, as we spoke about in our first day of the bootcamp, try to get to a certain number of questions that as you practice and as you're getting better at it. Try learn yourself or know yourself, um, and know what's the number of questions that you can deal with on one single trial. So maybe it's 40 questions, maybe it's 50 questions. And as you get to that point, as you get to that number, try to divide your exam as you take the real CISSP exam into this section. So say you can concentrate perfectly on 40 straight questions. And from 41, 42, 45, you start, making stupid mistakes. Totally acceptable. Um, Take the number 40, and as you take the exam, you reach question number 40, you answer that one, and even if you're capable of continuing the exam, stop, pause, take a break, 10, 15 minutes, it's on your expense, time is still running out, right? But take 5, 10 minutes, drink a cup of water, go to the bathroom, refresh yourself, move your body, restart your brain, and then go back to take another 40 questions. And even if you get to 80 questions and you're like, 20 questions right around the corner, no, do not continue, because this might not be just the next 20 questions. So hopefully you will be done after 100 questions. But if this will continue, you're not only affecting your ability to continue beyond the 40, but also you're continuing affecting your grade by just answering wrong into the 100 and something questions. So know yourself, and by practice, you will have that number that you can actually work with, and will help you tremendously help you during your exam. Carlo, did you want to say something?
No.
All right. All right, cool. So let's finish domain 7. How about that?
Yeah.
So I decided to keep domain 8 for tomorrow. So if after we finish domain 7, you have something or some area of the CISSP that you want to cover again, let's do that. Okay, so prepare your questions and bullet points of what you want to review again. Since tomorrow morning, I want to complete domain 8. I want us to be clear. There's no pressure. We still have time together. So let's leave domain 8 for tomorrow morning, and that part tomorrow morning will help us kind of slowly move away from all domains altogether at the second part of the day, and do more exam questions together and by ourselves. So if you have this topics that you want to raise and you want to go over again after we complete domain 7, this will be a great time. Valentino, you have a question?
Yeah. So in the exam of domain 7, there was a question where it said the company, well, the person is suspecting that somebody is stealing computing from the company, or malware
Okay.
is stealing computing from the company. It
Mhm.
doesn't specify a particular machine. So in that case, I answered NIDS because it's company wide.
Yeah,
So
me too.
But the answer is actually HIDS, even though the question doesn't state it's a physical device or as an actual.
let me read the question for you. Melanie, probably the CISO, suspects that someone is using malicious software to steal computing cycles from her company.
Yes.
Okay, using malicious software to steal computing cycles from her company. So that one can be an external attacker, from what I'm reading, and I'm reading this question with you. So the question here is, which one of the following security tools will be in the best position to detect this type of incident? The answers are NIDS, HIDS, firewall, and DLP.
Yes.
Right? So I'm looking at the question again at the second part. The second part says which one of the following security tool will be best in the in the best position to detect. Okay, so obviously it's not data leakage prevention and not even firewall because those two are the preventative. Do you see that? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's leaving us with two types of detection tools: network intrusion detection system and host-based intrusion detection system, NIDS and HIDS. And the thing is that Melanie suspects that someone is using malicious software to steal computing cycles, as in plural, from her company. Okay,
Correct.
so they're trying to steal computing power from her company. So that will be, you're not trying to steal computing cycle from one computer. You're trying
Exactly.
to steal computer cycles, okay? And that leads us to the NIDS.
Yeah. So when you answer NIDS,
Mhm.
it actually comes back saying no, you're incorrect. It's HIDS.
Okay,
Yeah. And that was that's the main
let's
question.
look at the, okay, I'm trying to pull it out. I'm trying to solve the question with you. So let me take a look at the database and see if we can find that question, and maybe there's an explanation there. You didn't see any explanation on this question?
Not that I can recall.
Okay, so here's the explanation. Really, you didn't get one? Because it says
Well,
incorrect answer feedback. A host-based intrusion detection system may be able to detect unauthorized processes running on a system, on single system. The other controls mentioned, network intrusion detection system, firewall, and DLP systems are network-based and may not notice rogue processes. So here they refer to the processes. So they're saying computing cycles are really processes. Let's go to Google.
Yeah, but you know, if someone is I mean, the question is you have to understand what is stealing computer cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if somebody is trying to steal computer cycles, okay, he's trying to use his computer. I don't know, and this was my assumption.
And I'm with
And
you on
assumptions are bad in this case, I know, but stealing computer cycles, for example, mining bitcoins, okay, for
yes,
someone.
I'm with you on this. Let me
But
show you.
crypto mining is a type of bot.
Yeah.
And bot can be discovered by NIDS, sorry.
So here's the question. This is the question, okay? This is the question, and this is the correct answer. So the explanation here is this, okay? Only HIDS is able to detect unauthorized processes running on a single system. So I took this part, computing cycles, and Google that, and this is what I get. What is computing cycle? It's the instruction cycle, also known as the fetch, decode, execute cycle or simply the fetch execute cycle, that the central processing unit CPU follows from boot up until the computer has shut down in order to process instructions. So it's really the processes in a system. In my years, not looking at computing cycles before this question, I think, from my understanding, it's really
the thing is, if you think about it, IDS is signature based. Even IDS will not identify if somebody is stealing computer cycles, because the computer cycles are not the processes itself, but the CPU instructions. Okay.
No, but that's what they say. So here, the host base is the differentiator, the fact that we're looking at a system. But in the question, this plural one is the one that confused me. So I don't know what to tell you, other than, okay, computing cycles can exist on a single computer. Okay, this is where we learn, and I'm learning with you. I don't know better than you, okay? So we all learn together. Right?
I'll tell you what I think. Network-based solution inspect traffic. And if someone is stealing computing power, so resources, it means that there is a software which is running on a PC or multiple PCs on a server, and not using the network in the same time. So it's just running and doing its thing. It can mine Bitcoin, it can do some calculations, and once in a while, it can send the data or get some commands from outside. And if you will have a host-based solution, yes, of course, it's not an EDR, but some host IPS or host IDS system can also see the anomaly.
Isn't EDR is some kind of a host-based intrusion detection system?
EDR, yes, it's some kind of.
Not really, because IDS is signature-based.
No, don't confuse that. IDS can be signature-based, but can also work on behavioral characters or properties.
I agree with that, yes.
So as you can set the EDR to heuristic detection, right? We can do that as well. So the EDR, by definition, the endpoint detection and response system, it does detection. So it's some sort of HIDS, the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So we all learned something. Again, great. I really like that. That we all learned something new here.
It's a good question, because it's the line between what is wrong and not. Let's say it's wrong or not wrong, but the line between what you assume from this question to what is written in this question is very involved.
This is the key that we keep talking about.
Very fun.
Practice, and more practice. You will not get away with it. Jacob, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question here. So I faced a query saying there was a picture and two army soldiers are standing on the seashore, and I see a small army tank was just lying in the seashore. Okay, the question is what technique can be used to protect the intellectual property in the image shown below? Okay, so as far as I see, the intellectual property is the only the small tank in the picture. So the options are like clipping, watermarking, sampling, and steganography. So I choose steganography, but I see the actual answer is watermarking.
Watermarking, yes.
So we can, yes.
Yeah. Let me bring up this question. Okay. Oh, and we have the explanation. I'm wondering, you're not getting the explanation when you get the question wrong? Jega, did you get the explanation?
Yes, I see.
Okay.
Yes, I see this. I see the explanation actually. So according to me, in the steganography, we can also hide this entire picture into a file, right?
Okay. So let's look at the what would be what technique has been used to protect intellectual property in the image shown below? This one.
Yes.
So we have the USGS here. Sampling and clipping is more statistics for a sim, so I wouldn't use that one.
Yes.
Steganography, are we all familiar with what steganography is?
Yes, it's
Right over
hiding.
the photo.
Yes, hiding a file using another file.
Exactly, exactly. So this one, pretty straightforward that it's a watermark here, and you get it wrong with steganography?
Yes.
Okay. So the image clearly contains watermark of the USGS, which ensures that anyone seeing the image known its origin. Yes, that's the same thing for CyTech's presentation. Same thing for these videos that we are recording now. You will always have this CyTech logo somewhere, so you know its origin. It is not possible to tell from looking at the image where the steganography was used. So there might be steganography, but just by looking at the picture, just by looking shown below, we don't know, we cannot know, unless they give us more details on it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right, this is all good. This is very, very good. You see how we can actually practice together. And I want to utilize our time, the time that we will have today, between from when we finish domain 7 and then the end of the day, to practice more, maybe in pairs, maybe in groups, maybe alone, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I think practice is really what will make the difference for us as a group here during this bootcamp. So tomorrow. So let's try and do that after we complete domain 7. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good to
Yeah.
me.
All right. Jigga, your hand is still up there?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So do you still have a question?
Yes, I still have a question here. So
Okay.
I didn't really convinced with the image actually. So by means of steganography also we can able to hide that exact image, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a confusion in the answers.
You think there's a confusion in the answers?
Yes.
So clipping and sampling are
No,
both.
it is not part of this. Clipping and sampling are not part, but watermarking and steganography, for between these two answers, I feel like there's a confusion because both these techniques can be used to conceal that image, right?
No, I think judging by the wording of the question, the image shown below. So all you can do to inspect that image is just by looking at it. We cannot analyze the code behind it because there's definitely a code behind it, but we cannot analyze that code behind it since we don't have access to that or we don't have enough information in the question. So the image shown below, we look at it and we see the watermark, and it's like, okay, watermark is definitely here. Not sure about steganography. Does that make sense, Jagan?
Okay.
Yeah. The fact that steganography have something with picture doesn't mean that you can use it in that case, because in fact steganography is a technique to conceal or hide some data inside other data. So to hide a file or to hide some information inside the picture or inside another file.
Yes,
It
but
won't
this will be we will be able to analyze this again if we get more information in the question, or we get access to the actual file itself or its properties, and then we'll be able to know if if we're dealing with steganography, yes or no. So for now, it's just a guess, right?
Yeah.
But the most definitive one is that the fact that we have watermark on the picture.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Right.
All right, guys, let's continue with domain 7. That was really good practice, and we will do more of that. So the next chapter, chapter 18, in this domain, we still have 2 chapters, very precise, talking about disaster recovery planning and then evidence collection, which I basically think that there's too few areas and topics that ISC is touching in the book under these 2 chapters. That's why I personally added a lot more information to make it easy for you. So that's my freedom of creation to add a lot more information to what you actually need for your CISSP. And let's look at it, both from the ISC point of view, but also from practical point of view. So disasters, when we talk about disasters, this can take place from 2 main vectors. One, man-made disasters, which are most of the disasters that we see today, but also natural disasters. Okay, what we see now with COVID-19, again, I'm emphasizing that part because I think for every situation that you can probably think about the corona times here, you will probably have a question on that. The more people working remotely in this time of year, the more questions you can anticipate in your CISSP about remote work. So I would say remote employees, BYOD, IPsec, encryption, data address, data in transit, disaster recovery, talking about force majeure, natural disaster, how you prepare for it, business continuity. This is the type of questions during the corona time that I would expect from ISC to have on the CISSP. They're always trying to stay relevant, okay? So again, anything around the corona and our landscape today would probably be a good idea to dig deeper into those areas. And here, when we talk about disasters are the ones that we can be prepared for, but there can be other disasters that we are not prepared for, scenarios that we didn't paint or didn't think about prior to the disaster. So for those, what we consider is really the impact on the organization. We did not consider the origin of the disaster. The origin of the disaster is less important. The important part is what happened to the business and how can we quickly recover from it. So the techniques of recovery are spread out. We have few options for disaster recovery. Bear in mind that for the disaster recovery, we're talking only about IT. Okay, disaster recovery, only about IT. Business continuity, we talked about the business in general, but here we're only talking about IT and what IT needs to have in place to support the business, okay? So if it's just, I don't know, IT ticketing system, probably not a good asset to include in your DRP. But if it's the exchange server, emailing system, or telephony system, or ERP, salaries and such, you want to include that in your DRP. That's an asset you want to include. So the approaches we have here are going from hot, warm, and cold, and mirror sites. So I added a lot of information around this, a lot more than we have in the CISSP, but I will give you now what you really need to have in order to address the questions in the CISSP and deal with them. So hot site is the site that we have that is ready to go up at any given time within a time frame of 4 hours. Okay, so take the first bullet and emphasize the hours and indicate 4 hours per CISSP. So up to 4 hours is your hot site. And for hot site, we invest a lot of money, a lot of technology, a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, because our business is relies on this site to be up and ready within a matter of just a few hours. Okay. However, hot site is very expensive. So if we don't have the means and the resources to invest in this kind of site, kind of IT site or redundancy site, then we might consider a warm site. Warm site is semi-active. It takes about a day, a full business day to switch from our main site to the disaster recovery site. This will take up to 12 hours to bring up and running, and this is our time frame. This is the time frame we have to bring these systems back and running. But this can also be costly. Within a day, within one business day, to be up and running somewhere else, you need to have that somewhere else very, very ready to go. That's why most organizations will probably have some sort of a cold site. Cold site means that you recover within a period of time of 1 week. Okay, 1 week, 7 days. So anything above 12 hours and up to 7 days, you choose cold site. Okay, you can also have cold site for up to 1 month, but I would expect this information to be in the question and not something we need to guess. Okay, so in the question, if it's more than 1 week, you should expect 1 month cold site to be in the question, or at least give you some sort of indication that this is the case. Cold site is the cheapest one, but also takes more time and will require a lot of investment. So either you invest in your disaster recovery prior to the disaster, or you spend the money and resources after the disaster took place. All right, make sense? Hot, warm, and cold. Now we have the mirror site. This is by far the most expensive method to deal with the disaster. Mirror site means that we have two sites that are working in parallel, okay? They're working full redundant to each other, and this will be the money spender of disaster recovery, all right? For this one of the downsides that we have is that we in fact have two processing sites, but we only get processing one site. You see that? Because they both do the same work. And the reason we want to have mirror site is because every transaction counts. And our tolerance for downtime is practically zero. All right, Jacob, do you have a question?
No, not on this.
All right. Okay, just see your hand up there. So if you don't have a question, let me lower your hand. Okay, thank you. So again, mirror site is the most expensive one, but it's seconds or milliseconds to go back online. Multiple processing centers are, from here on, we have different options. Multiple processing center means that we have the distributed processing center, distributed data centers, the way we talked about them yesterday. This will give us the ability to not be reliant on just one processing center, just one data center, okay? So here you have multiple sites, and if one of them goes down, you're not losing your whole entire processing capability, data processing and information processing capabilities. All right, guys?
But it's like mirror site. It's not,
no, it's not like mirror site. It's not.
No, but just have a question, because mirror site, only one mirror is active. Not active.
No. Both of them are active.
Both of them are active, but it's let's say you have, it's the difference between high availability and low sharing. Okay, high availability, both like in servers, both servers are active. They replicate the data. But only one server is active. The other one is standby.
Right.
And here it's load sharing. I mean, all of them is all of the servers are active.
Yeah.
And so in mirror, the other side is active, but it's standby. Is ready.
No, it's not. It's active.
So what's the difference?
Not sharing. You simply write the same transaction to both sides. So you have two sides of the same database, the same transactions. They're writing it simultaneously on both sides. So if one of them goes down, you still have your processing web.
But only one site is. Let's say I have users connected. There are mail servers, okay, in one site, and the users are the only one mail server is handling the users, right? But once there is a failover, the other mail server is handling the users.
Again, you can have users in both. So the choice of where to put.
What's the difference between multiple processing centers? Because multiple processing centers.
Mirror site is not multiple processing centers. Mirror site means that you have a system Okay, in that system, let's say it's the bank mainframe, and it writes the same transaction in two sides altogether. You
Okay.
can't have users authenticated to it, okay? Users authenticated to more than one site is multiple processing centers. As much as you have two domain controllers, right? So if one is down, the other one continues, but that's more like multiple processing centers. Okay, so you have more than one. Mirror site means that you have one mainframe, but with two physical machines and two databases, and they're both doing the same thing at the same time. If one of them goes down, it's transparent to the user. It's not like you worked on one and not on two, and now we need to switch you to two. Okay, you work simultaneously on both.
Okay.
All right? We also have what we call mobile site. And this is, in times of war, God forbid, or even pandemic, when banks cannot go and serve the people in their neighborhoods, then they send this mobile site of, whatever branch of a bank, and basically they all services of the bank, and it looks like in your mind, imagine yourself a truck with a container on it, and in that container you have a bank, one of the branches, right, mobile branches. So all they need to do is connect to the internet wherever they are, wherever they park, and then provide services from there. That's a mobile site. That site helps you, create redundancy or disaster recovery for your services. Service Bureau, it sounds cool, and it's basically the service provided by third party. This one is more related to cloud-based services that we purchase. Okay, we say to Amazon, I'm holding my, or we say to Microsoft, I'm holding my Exchange on-prem, right? But if that machine will be down for some reason, then I immediately switch to Exchange Online. So I have a hybrid environment. The service that I buy from Microsoft is called, basically, the provider is called the Service Bureau or agency, okay? There's another method called reciprocal agreements or mutual assistant agreement. This is by far the weakest way of having disaster recovery capability. Basically, it's two very poor organizations, startup companies, mom and pop shop somewhere, okay, working with their neighbors, physical neighbors, in the building, in the floor, in the neighborhood. Go to them and they say, we're small, you're small. In case something bad happens to me, I'm going to come and stay with you and work from you as long as I have internet connection and I can put my behind somewhere sitting on your table, on your chairs and tables. And the same thing for you. So we sign a short agreement saying, I'll cover for you, I'll cover for me. But basically, it doesn't abide. It's not like real agreement because at any given time, the other party can claim, oh, you know what? It's not a good time for me. I cannot accept you guys now. I have guests from abroad in the office, so I cannot give you that space. So this is for the poor. It's just to get a tick in a box saying we did invest time in thinking about the disaster recovery. Yes, I agree.
The company that is using this method?
Yes, we see that a lot in companies that are sharing spaces today, small startups sharing spaces. They're like, I have my ADSL connected to my carrier. You have your ADSL connected to your carrier. Let's choose different carriers, right? Or if mine drops, I can use yours and you can use mine. Each one of them is working with just a laptop and they need Wi-Fi, So yeah, we see that very, very small companies do that.
And some sister companies as well.
Come again?
Some sister companies as well, like companies that are
Really?
basically owned by each other. I've seen that in South Africa, where they do that. So they literally just move their office from the one building to the next because they own each other.
Yeah. So that's not really. It's not a strong disaster recovery platform. You know, I wouldn't want to handle a situation where this is my safety net. You know.
No, definitely.
Data backup or database backup. Database backup includes electronic vaulting, okay, which is used to transfer database backups to a remote site as a bulk, okay, or we can use remote journaling. So in remote journaling, we transfer data in more frequent, so smaller pieces. And remote mirroring, I think, Shahar, this is your answer. Remote mirroring is when transactions are mirrored at the backup site in real time, so they're active. Does this answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, let me ask you a question. You get a question in your CISSP. What do you do first? Recovery or restoration? What comes first?
Restoration. Restore the data before recovery.
Uh-huh.
Because you want to get the business, up and running.
Anybody else want to give it a try? Jega, Carlo, Aaron? What do you do first, recover or restoration?
Depends.
Depends.
Yeah, for example, if we lost just a system, okay.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
This is how I know that you're going to pass your CISSP. Because the humiliation that you're going to go through now is scary. It's right in front of your face. First you recover, then you restore.
Yeah.
You will never repeat this mistake again. Okay, that's the thing about CISSP. I love this slide just because of this one. Because people wake up at this time. You know, it's still an exam. You still need to be focused. Even after 2.5 hours in this shit, you still need to be awake and sharp, just like you were in the first and second question. That's how you pass the exam. You look at it, you read it, they talk to you. Okay, Valentino? Thank you. I appreciate you letting me use your feedback.
No, but this depends.
This is what I said, because we have a confusion here between the both terms, okay? Because, for example, this example I wanted to give you, actually, if we lost the system, okay? So we could restore the system, for example, from the backup from yesterday, or maybe from the backup we have 1 hour ago.
Yep.
And to
recovery refers to the business, and restoration refers to the systems and the whole situation, including, by the way, the actions that you did during the recovery, because there's some actions that you did during the recovery, you need to reverse them. This is part of the restoration to normal mode.
Exactly that. Recovery is for the business. We first recover the business, then we look at the systems, okay? Carlo, but you were a great friend for jumping on the grenade for Valentino.
Of course.
Of course, anytime.
We have to back up each other.
All right. So yes, first you recover your business and the critical functions of your business, and then you take care of everything else. Okay, the business has to move forward. Keep moving forward. You know, as we said, I think it was the first hour of the first day. We said that businesses grow, or or they go down. They cannot float. There's no such thing as cruising altitude in businesses. So let's look at the recovery needs, or analyzing, determining the recovery needs of a business. We now have two phrases called RTO and RPO, recovery time objective and recovery point objective. There are many other terms in the CISSP, and you will need to elaborate in the book on that. Okay, so I'm saying it in advance. Go to the book and read more on that topic. But these are the main two that you need to have in the back of your mind as you address those questions. A lot of questions will be around that. The RTO is basically what we say, how much time do I have from the moment of the incident? See this one? See my mouse? You see my mouse on the screen?
Yeah.
This is the moment of incident. We start counting seconds, minutes, hours, days, and weeks, and months, and so on from the moment of incident. So we take this right. And then for the RPO, we will count backward, okay? So how much data we are affording ourselves to lose, okay? It's all a matter of risk appetite. So on the recovery time objective, we say from moment of incident, from the moment that something happened, right? That point in time, going back to our drawing on the whiteboard, I remind you the drawing on the whiteboard, you know, that point that we had an incident, something happened, how much time do we have to recover the business? Who can answer this question?
According to the business needs.
Then who can answer these questions?
Business owners.
Exactly.
Senior management.
No, Khaled, you don't agree?
Yeah, we have a policy, for example.
We have
to, let's say, comply with the policy.
This policy, yes, but this policy taken from the management. You cannot decide it by yourself.
True. You didn't let me finish.
That's exactly what we're trying to say. You know, people set the policy.
If you want less time, you need to invest more money. That's it.
The business set the rules, and then we write the policy to reflect the business rules. All right? Are we good, Colin?
Absolutely.
Yep. So here we ask the business, how much time do we have to recover in case of a ransomware, in case of a, I don't know, any risk scenario, okay? How much time do we have? So let's say we go to our CEO and we ask this question. What do you think the answer will be of a CEO if we ask them about a ransomware attack?
I don't know. Or zero.
Give me a number. Zero.
Zero.
Perfect. Let me ask you another question. How much data?
The answer won't be zero. The answer would be how much.
Hang on. There's a continuation of this question, Aaron. I know you know where we're going with this, but I need everybody else to be with us, okay? So let's stick to the plan. So we asked Shachar, the CEO, how much time do we have to recover? He said 0. I want no downtime at all. All right, good. Write it down. Aye, Mr. CEO, we're with you. Let me ask you another question, Mr. CEO. That's the second part of the question. How much data are you willing to lose in case of a disaster?
Also zero.
Zero.
CEO.
This is a great CEO for any CISO in the world. You know why?
Because I'm ready to pay.
This one is talking high availability. And you know what high availability means?
A lot of money.
Open check. Open check. That's what it means.
Yeah.
And since no organization will give us open check, then we need to work with the organization. And I love this exercise now because it really is the the main idea behind this discussions with management. They need to understand what stands behind their declarations. Oh, 0 downtime, 0 time to recover. Okay, if you want 0 time to recover, I need a team of 60 people here, fully redundant with each other, 24/7 service, what we call around the sun worldwide, and you will pay salaries through your nose. And I need technologies here to not lose even 1 bit of information. Perfect technologies, not even the Pentagon has those. But you know what? If you're willing to write the check, who am I to say no?
Khan,
Yep.
Can I challenge you a little bit?
Absolutely, Mr. CEO.
Now, as my CISO, I let's say I don't have the budget, but if I'll tell you like I'm ready to compromise on 1 day, okay? Can you quantify how much money you need to recover the business?
Absolutely. I run business impact analysis, and I tell you what 1 day is worth for you. Actually, this is something that we did in the States with this great big organization. We analyzed their two what we call critical business functions, right? The critical business process was communicating with the clients. Okay, they wanted always to be able to communicate with the clients. We had two critical business functions. On one side we had the exchange server or exchange services, and on the other the ERP. Okay, the CFO said, we asked them if you need to choose one of them because we only have money for one of them. If we need to choose one of them, that's the CFO. Okay, he chose the exchange server. All right, we said, okay, good. We're going and doing our analysis on the business, on the systems. We come back with monetary analysis. Money. We put money behind it. The exchange came back with the contribution of $200,000 per hour. So every work hour is worth $200,000 for the organization, right? The ERP was $2.2 million per hour. When we presented this in front of the CFO, he said, heck, I'm wrong. What the hell was I thinking? Of course, the ERP includes all invoices and all inventory and salaries, and this is a much greater contributor to my communication and my work with my clients. This is a much greater moneymaker function. So if I need to choose one of two, of course I go with the ERP. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. This is the exact analysis you want to bring in front of your management. And my recommendation as a consultant, I'm telling you, don't work alone. Bring consultants to do it for you. And, let me be the bad guy for you. I have no doubt that you can do it yourself. But if you stand in front of management and handle this discussion, it'll be harder for you to walk outside the room as a winner, For me, I have no problem standing in there and even representing you and let them throw everything they want about me, because at the end of the day, they will say, okay, we heard you, Mr. Consultant. Now go home and we'll make our own decision. It's easier for a consultant to be in your shoes and represent you instead of you standing in front of your senior management. But that's a whole different argument, regardless of CISSP. That's why they do what they do. I like being a consultant. I like representing people and professionals. That's me.
But if I want a clear answer, and I think it's a valid point in the CISSP, if you want to monetize or quantize the recovery point objective, you need to do a business impact analysis.
Absolutely, and you need to run a risk analysis. Yes. Remember, a hybrid quantitative, qualitative risk analysis. And where do we get the asset value from?
From the businessman, the business.
That's where it's connected. We get it from the business. See, it's the same area. All right. Let's talk about disaster recovery testing techniques. So we wrote a disaster recovery plan, and we have a plan in place. We want to test it. We want to make sure that it actually works. So we have five ways to test our disaster recovery plan. But I would like you to draw a line in your presentation. Please draw a line after the second one. So the first two, read through, and there's the second one, structure walkthrough, and then draw a line after the structure walkthrough, and then you have three other tests. The reason I want you to draw a line there is that these are separated into two groups. The first two are kind of, let's talk about it. Let's sit around the table. Let's exchange emails and talk about it. The last three are the actual ones that we operate on. Okay, we actually test the plan. So the first one and the second one, the read-through is like when we send all involved parties the part of the disaster recovery plan. So for example, Shachar, you're the DBA, you will get your part in the DBA via email. You read and sign and say, okay, I understand my part. That's the read-through. The structured walkthrough is when we put all the team in one meeting room and take 2, 3, 4 hours to go over the plan, and each one of us needs to say, yes, I understand. As a team, we can work together. But for these two, we didn't really execute anything, right? We just read through the plan and agreed, right? We brought consultants, we paid them good money, and now we have disaster recovery, which we all agreed to. Awesome. We didn't test that. The last three are actual tests. So simulation tests may shut down non-critical business units and then try to recover that business function for that non-critical business unit. So we want minimum interruption with the business. However, this is a simulation, okay? We're saying, okay, for the lunch menus in the dining room, we're gonna shut down the system just to see that the backups can actually work. Okay, so we take the tapes and see that we actually write on the tapes something. It's not just, blank. And then the fourth one is parallel tests. Parallel tests involve relocating personnel, but do not affect day-to-day operations. So it's almost as if we are facing a disaster, but we're not interfering with any day-to-day operation of the business. We're just saying, okay, let's relocate the personnel to the disaster recovery site, okay? And the last one is the full interruption, and you do want to do that at least once a year. The full interruption test involves shutting down primary systems, responsibility to the recovery facility. So you move people and you move technology as well, okay? So this is the ultimate test, the full interruption test, and that one is the one that you want to get to, all right? But if you cannot get to it immediately, there are 4 other ways to actually test and bring awareness to your disaster recovery plan. Are we good?
There are actually companies that are doing this for you. You pay them money to do the.
That's true. That's true. Very true.
Interruption tests. It's good business.
Some of you saw that encountered this type of questions on their practice exam, which we did right before lunch. And I want to cover this, and I want to make sure we all understand it, because I think that's basic IT for all of us. But let's just cover this to make sure we're all on the same line. We're all on the same page here. So we can have 3 backup strategies, okay? And we're talking backup tapes, okay? Backup strategy, backup systems. The first one, pretty obvious, full backup. Full backup, that means that every day or every week or every cycle, I create a full copy of all data stored on my system, okay? Full copy every cycle. If my cycle is 24 hours, fine. My cycle is every week, fine. If my cycle is every hour, then fine. Every hour, I will create a full copy of everything I have on that system, right? That's full backup. Incremental backups and differential backups are a bit tricky. So one of them is quick to execute, slow to recover, and the other one is quite opposite. Slow to execute, quick to recover, right? So let's look at them both. Incremental backups create copies of all files modified since the last full or incremental backup. So since last touched by any backup, okay, the incremental backup will create a copy of those files, okay? If last backup was yesterday, okay, and it was full backup, today, as we run the incremental backup, it will back up everything that happened from yesterday full backup to today incremental backup. Tomorrow, the incremental backup will look back and say, oh, yesterday we had incremental backup, then I'm backing up from yesterday incremental backup to today. So another piece, okay? So I have full backup, incremental, and then incremental, okay? The differential backups create copies of all files modified since the last full backup without regard to any previous differential or incremental backups that may have taken place. Differential goes to yesterday I had a full backup. Today I'm running differential backup. Okay, so I'm looking back and I see that yesterday I had full backup, so I'm backing up today. Tomorrow I'm going to run another differential backup. That one is not going to look at today's differential backup, but it's going to look at yesterday's full backup, and it's going to back up the 2 days that passed before that. All right, are we all good? Yeah?
No, wait, so
Nope.
again, so I just want to understand differential. The incremental backup will back up always the last day?
No. Incremental backup backs up everything we have from last backup, no matter what it was.
Okay.
Any backup that we had, even incremental backup, it creates these small delta pieces. And then when we want to restore, we need to bring them 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go back to that one, right? So we need to structure that, more pieces. While in differential backup, it always creates backup from the full. This is full. It creates backup from full recovery. So here it'll back up 1 day. Tomorrow it'll back up 2 days.
Okay.
The next day, 3 days. And to restore, I need that full backup, Shachar.
Yeah, okay.
And that last differential one.
This picture makes it more clear. Okay.
Yes, this one, okay?
Okay.
So have this in front of you. I found this great presentation online for the incremental and differential. I think it's a great explanation on how this is executed and presented. All right, guys. Let's. Do you have any questions? Does anybody have any question on this?
Yeah, on the test there was a question about the backup bit. So
backup bits.
Yeah, I can even go over the question.
I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which backup does not reset the archive bit? Sorry.
I'm looking for that question, but while I'm doing that, anybody else has another question?
Question 11 and question 20.
Your questionnaire, your last questionnaire, question number 20?
11 and 20, I think they both talk about backup. So which backup method does not reset the archive bit on files that are backed up?
Okay. Can I present your test?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's look at it together. Okay. So is this the question here?
Yeah.
Okay. Which backup method does not reset the archive bit on files that are backed up? What they're really asking us is which backup method will not create that point in time that we need to refer to as we're backing up the system. Does this make sense, my explanation?
So
we have a system that will not create a flag here that we need to refer to.
Okay.
And this one is the differential one. You see that? Because the differential one doesn't care about other backups. It always goes back to that full backup.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Which means that this archive bit actually points and refers to a incremental backup for a point of time.
Come again, Carlo? I'm not sure I fully understand.
This archive bit actually refers to an incremental backup taken of a point of time.
Yes. So incremental backup will reset that archive bit. Yes.
Yeah, because there will be one also with the next one. But the question is, look, so this is English, I know, but it's set
it's
like
the CISSP English. I agree. Yes. Anybody else? Any other question?
Can you go to question 20 as well?
20. Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah.
which backup method only copies files that have been recently added or changed and also leaves the archive bit unchanged? Same question.
Yeah, it's really, really
Same
similar.
question. The archive bit is that little flag that when you back up, you go back to up to that one, the archive bit. Okay? And the differential backup does not look at the archive bit.
Yeah, so it's basically the same question, different phrasing. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let me amend actually something here. There are systems which can actually, you could look, let's say, for a point of time, and you would like to restore everything. So the server, the data, the database, whatever it is, which has been present at this point of time. You could, of course, if it's, for example, let's take something easy. We can take, for example, database, and this actually will restore the entire database to the state of this when this incremental backup has been taken off. What kind of row actually has this archive bit into this? Because if you actually could step into every given time when you want to check something, then why does it matter?
You know what? I think it's I don't know why. I think, you know, it's helping organizations save money. I don't see any other reason why this might take place, because I don't want to waste too much time on tapes. It costs a lot of money. The whole process costs money. Then, you know, I need that part. If I can save money instead of creating a full backup every day and using I don't know how many tapes, you know, and to store them and to make sure they're in a safe and in cool area and they won't be affected by fire, by flood, and so on. So I think, you know, at the end of the day, this will probably help organizations save money. Does this answer the question, Carlo?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. All right, great, guys. So let's reconvene here, and let's take a 20 minutes break. How's that sound? All right.
Sounds
So
amazing.
we will see you here at 3:30.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, bye.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.